Real talk. What is the freaking deal with high Canadian housing prices? First, housing is typically a provincial matter, so the situation in Canada varies quite a bit. But in general, things have gotten very, very bad in Canada since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic. Almost 250,000 Canadians experience homelessness every year. And things are particularly bad in some of Canada's most populous provinces, such as Alberta and Ontario. Let's look at some basic facts. 2/3 of Canadians, or 67% of Canadians, own their own homes. But for the rest of us, 33% of Canadians rent an apartment or home. Newfoundland and Labrador have the highest rate of home ownership at 75.7%. Quebec has the lowest at 59.9%. But the situation for younger Canadians and newcomers to Canada has become extremely dire. The COVID-19 pandemic ushered in one of the largest wealth transfers from the lower and middle classes to the ultra-wealthy in human history. As the saying goes, a crisis is a terrible thing to waste. The financial crisis that happened during the global pandemic resulted in some Canadians losing their homes to their mortgage lenders. This situation has continued. In 2024, the mortgage default rate for single-family homes reached 5%, up from 1.7% in Q4 of 2022, with foreclosures rising to 3.5% from 1.3% over the same period. One example of this was the 92 forced sales of homes recorded in Toronto in 2020. A forced sale happens when a homeowner can no longer pay their mortgage and the lender sells the home, often cheaply. This situation saw corporate buyers and other investors snapping up these homes as investment properties, and that continues to happen.
According to the Bank of Canada, between 2014 and 2021, almost half of all home purchases were from first-time buyers. Great. About 1/3 were repeat home buyers, but 19%, almost 1 in 5 homes, were bought by what the bank calls investors, which it defines as anyone who took out a mortgage to buy a home while keeping the mortgage on their other home. So they're juggling at least 2 properties at once. But you know what happened more recently? In the first 3 months of 2023, these investors were responsible for 30% of home purchases. That's up from 28% in the same period the year before and 22% in the same period in 2020. Translation, the first-time homebuyer market share is increasingly being snatched up by investors who see homes as a way of making money.
In 2021 in Canada, investors were found to own 14% to 26% of all houses in each province. The definition of a house includes single-detached, semi-detached, and row houses. Investors also own 30% and 42% of condo apartments. Millennials are less likely to own their own home than their parents. Generation X, Generation Z, and Millennials are all less likely to own homes than the baby boom generation. The situation continues to get worse for younger people looking to move out on their own. Because investors are using homes as investments rather than places to live, rents are now skyrocketing. Canadian rents are now up 32% from their pandemic lows. And because housing is a provincial matter, it depends on the provincial government you have. In Alberta and Ontario, there are conservative governments that run on eliminating red tape and regulations on business owners. For landlords, in Alberta, there are no rent controls. Alberta rents are now increasing faster than any province in Canada. In Ontario, Doug Ford removed rent control for new buildings and units occupied after November 15, 2018. As I said at the beginning, the housing situation in Canada is bad. Conservative provincial governments have lifted rent controls and investors are snapping up housing stocks to make corporate and personal profits. Given all of this, Conservatives still have no affordable housing plan. And they agree with the provincial Conservatives' policy of cutting red tape and eliminating government regulation such as rent controls. What do you think? Which federal party has the best plan for affordable housing? As always, please check out the links in the video description for more information. Special thanks to Silent Zyko for the great topic suggestion. Please like and subscribe to help our channel grow.